Well, welcome to our Ayurvedic talk tonight. We are actually going to talk about urination. So, we're going to talk about that because oftentimes there are issues with the urinary tract and the bladder, and women tend to have more of those issues than men, but it can happen for men as well. My son actually just had a urinary bladder infection and ended up in urgent care. And I have no idea how he got that. Anyway, I don't want to know. So, but it is something that is fairly common. And then the other thing that happens is incontinence, which is, having problems with urination. It is mostly a vata condition when you're having issues with now your urinary infection compared to incontinence is different. Incontinence is a vata issue. Infection is usually more of a pitta issue. So remember, vata is the elements of ether and air, and that is causing dryness. It's usually there's like inconsistencies going on. There's a lot of stuff going on with the nervous system oftentimes. And then pitta is heat. It means there's heat, and that is contributing to an infection. And stress is a big contributor to these urinary problems. But incontinence means that the muscles start getting weak. And there are exercises that you can do to strengthen that. In fact, there are physical therapists who specialize in pelvic floor dysfunction. So you can go to a physical therapist that specializes in that. I know one. So if you need one, reach out to me and I will connect you to her. She's a doctor of physical therapy and she's fantastic. I've sent a lot of people to her. So the bladder and the sphincter of the bladder become weak, and you oftentimes are not able to control it, and the person may lose their voluntary control over urination. And that's a problem because if it gets worse, then you end up in adult diapers, and that's not fun. I'm sorry. It's not fun. It's not comfortable, and it's definitely not attractive. I'm just saying. Anyway, so another cause of incontinence in the West is the frequent use of restrooms. So believe it or not, if you go to the restroom constantly, it's going to contribute to that problem. So when people see a restroom, they go and they use it. And so that can cause more of an urgency and a feeling like I definitely have that after having 3 kids. Even if it's just like, I feel like I really have to go, and then I go and it's only a few drops. So that would be an example of that. It's subconscious, according to Ayurveda, it's subconscious. And so they go, and then as a result of that, the muscles become weaker. I want to just kind of compare this to what happens with people's digestion, because oftentimes I get clients that come in and they'll say, oh, I'm a grazer. I eat throughout the day. And this is an example of what your body gets used to. The people that are eating throughout the day, the body gets used to that. And so what it does is it weakens the digestion. So what we tend to do is say, okay, 3 meals a day and no snacking. Because when you snack, you weaken digestion. When you wait longer periods of time, it will strengthen the digestive fire. So you have a more voracious appetite and you're more able to digest the food that you eat. It's the same idea with urination. If you can wait, then you're actually helping to strengthen those muscles. You can also do Kegel exercises, which is contracting of the sphincter and the pelvic floor. That will help. The other thing too is you got to be careful because most of you guys online know I had sepsis 8-9 years ago. It's almost, we're coming up on the anniversary of that. I just had it. And it was due to a kidney urinary infection. And so after that happened, the doctors were like, you are not allowed to hold it. In the beginning, that was how it had to be for me. But now I've moved past that. and I can hold it a lot longer. So you want to practice holding it a little longer if you can. Urinary incontinence is, like I said, more common in women than men because of the urethra is shorter. When women cough, sneeze, strain, or laugh, the bladder can then leak. This is also a disorder that can be controlled with certain herbs and oil edema, and also certain yoga exercises will help. Other postures that are supportive are like forward folds, shoulder stand, and plow. They all help to strengthen. Also doing the Mula Bandha. Mula Bandha is contraction of the pelvic floor. We will do a whole class on the bandhas because there's 3 bandhas. And if you're going to learn one, you need to learn all 3. Herbs that are helpful is ashwagandha. That's a building herb. It's helped build tissues. Bala, that's a calming herb. And then Verdaria. I'm not exactly sure what that herb does. Anyway, also sesame seeds with a little bit of jaggery and natural brown sugar can help strengthen the bladder and correct incontinence. Other remedies are the oil bastis, which is something, it is an Ayurvedic treatment. And you do it once a week. It's an enema basically, and you take it's called a basti. You take the warm sesame oil and you help to strengthen that, and it also helps to eliminate any vata disorders, because remember, vata tends to settle in the large intestines and in the colon and also in the pelvis. So if you've got issues going on in the pelvis, the colon, or the large intestines, typically it's a vata problem. And so bastis, these oil bastis help nourish and bring vata back into balance. You want to avoid alcohol and caffeine, both of which are diuretics, and they intensify the need to urinate. Incontinence and urgency of urination will then increase, causing a lot more problems, and then actually make the incontinence worse. So avoid the alcohol and avoid the caffeine drinks. It's better in general. If you are dealing with vata, you don't want those in your diet. Get rid of them. Go to a vata pacifying diet. Reach out to me if you want to know what that is. It's a diet that's going to help build and nourish. If you're dealing with vata and you've got vata imbalances, you're usually dealing with nervous system issues, anxiety, insomnia, and tics, those kinds of vata issues, scattered, spacey, ungrounded. That's all vata. So you want to get that vata pacifying diet, which helps ground, nourish, builds the tissues. All right. Reach out to me if you have any questions on urinary incontinence and also any type of bladder issues. There's lots of stuff you can do, not just with Ayurveda, but these are the Ayurvedic ways of managing it. All right, let's get started with our practice tonight.